Thanks for listening to radioai.ca. Oil. We are talking oil here today, folks, and lots of it.
In the heart of geopolitical turmoil, a clandestine enterprise emerged, reshaping the global oil trade and funding Russia's war efforts in the shadows. As the Ukraine conflict intensified, a mysterious firm, Nord Axis, rose to prominence, orchestrating colossal transactions of Russian oil, defying international sanctions and eluding scrutiny with cunning precision. Born from the chaos of conflict, Nord Axis, alongside several enigmatic entities, salvaged Russia's oil industry from the brink of collapse. Behind this covert operation stood Etibar Eyyub, a relatively obscure trader from Azerbaijan, who swiftly constructed an intricate web of trading and shipping networks. With a fleet of aging tankers and a labyrinth of shell companies, Eyyub masterminded the movement of vast oil reserves to untapped markets in China, India, and beyond. Despite Western efforts to curb Russia's oil revenue, Eyyub's clandestine network thrived, exporting billions of dollars worth of Russian crude and fuel. Operating from the shadows, obscured by layers of bureaucracy and false trails, the true orchestrator of these deals remained elusive. As the West grappled with imposing sanctions, Eyyub's operation evolved, navigating through regulatory mazes and exploiting legal loopholes. Collaborating with figures deeply embedded in Russia's power structure, including Igor Sechin, a confidant of President Vladimir Putin, Eyyub cemented his influence, orchestrating deals from the corridors of Moscow to the boardrooms of global energy giants. Despite mounting suspicions and investigations, Eyyub and his cohorts remained one step ahead, their operations shrouded in secrecy. Even as sanctions targeted some of his enterprises, Eyyub swiftly pivoted, diverting activity through new channels, perpetuating the flow of oil revenue into Russia's coffers. In the labyrinthine world of international trade, where interests clash and alliances shift, the saga of Nord Axis and its elusive mastermind epitomizes the clandestine maneuvers that fuel modern conflicts. As the world grapples with the repercussions of unchecked power and hidden agendas, the shadow empire of the oil trade stands as a testament to the enduring allure of secrecy and the lengths nations will go to sustain their ambitions.
Missing in the above is how Russian oil became so valuable, Putin could afford to invade Ukraine. On day one of his presidency, Biden announced an attempted U.S. energy suicide. Oil began to soar, and soon Putin was swimming in enough petrodollars to invade Ukraine. Biden's sanctions of capping Russian oil at $60 was blunder number 2. Biden lost a few hundred million European buyers, but gained a larger market in the billions of people in China, India, Turkey. Selling more items at a lower price worked out pretty well for Walmart.
Well said. It's actually Biden and the Democrats funding Putin's war machine.
Biden did not pull permits for LNG exports. He put a moratorium on the construction of new LNG terminals. Construction already in progress can proceed. Any way you look at it, though, it's a bad decision. Go back to sleep, Joe.
The West should stop doing business with firms who do not disclose actual ownership, not some firm with unnamed shareholders, as reported in article.
Is Hunter kicking himself that he didn't think of this scheme first?
And yet we don't punish India and China for evading sanctions. We could knock the Indian economy over with a feather since it is so deeply tied to servicing the West.
We can try. Who is stopping Biden from sanctioning China and India? Or for that matter, UAE, Brazil? The list is endless. The fact is that the US is on the wrong side of history, and if it doesn't course correct now, it is on track to becoming less and less relevant. That US has decided not to go after China or India tells you there is some sanity and self-preservation instinct left in Washington elite.
Baloney. We're too weak to do that. 100% of our military budget is now borrowed. It's only a matter of time.
Generating billions of dollars in revenue for President Vladimir Putin's war effort. Biden shutting down oil pipelines and LNG facilities, limiting the supply of U.S. energy to the world. So instead of buying from the U.S., the world buys energy from Putin. It's Biden and the Democrats funding Putin war machine. Way to go, Democrats.
Azerbaijan is very similar culture psyche as Ukraine. Same with immediately neighboring countries, which were all part of the Soviet Union. Corruption, swindling, and double dealing are their stock and trade. It's in their genetics, I guess. They are the Ferengi of our era. This is why so many wisely question the material and cash poured into UKR.
The corruption of these countries is well known. I had a friend whose family was from UKR. His father was a Nazi sympathizer in Wutu. War ended, he ran fast out of there with wife and kids to Argentina, where my friend was born. Came to US, started a body shop biz in Chicago West Side that was more a fencing operation. Cut deals with the police and local ward politicians. My friend operated the same way. Always had to get an angle on everybody. I called him out on this one time. He said all Cossacks are survivalists, and under-the-table tactics is how one wins and someone else loses. Haven't spoken with him for years. Even tried to swindle me some.
Ukrainians don't share any genetic DNA with Azerbaijanis?
You bet they do. It's really no different than what we have with Jews and Palestinian populations. They are all Semites, originally classed together by Semitic languages.
The world is addicted to oil. It is ludicrous to think that the US can control the world and its energy supply.
Thanks for tuning in to RadioAI.ca. Judgy Judgerston here. Let's talk about oil, shall we? The dark, dirty underbelly of global politics and greed. So, here's the deal. Amidst all the chaos, Nord Axis, this shady organization, pops up out of nowhere, playing puppeteer with Russia's oil trade, funding Putin's destructive agenda. Etibar Eyyub, the mastermind behind this mess, maneuvers his way through a web of corruption and deception, salvaging Russia's sinking ship while the world burns. But hold up, let's talk about the real villains here. Biden and the Democrats. Day one of his presidency, and what does he do? He kneecaps American energy, driving oil prices through the roof and putting billions in Putin's pocket. Oh, and those sanctions? A total joke. Instead of hitting Putin where it hurts, Biden's playing right into his hands, funding his war chest with every gallon of oil sold. And don't even get me started on the LNG debacle. Biden's moratorium on new terminals, a slap in the face to American energy independence. But hey, who cares about that when there's shady deals to be made, right? And what's with all the secrecy? We need transparency, not shadowy figures pulling the strings behind closed doors. But no, let's just keep funneling money into the pockets of tyrants and warlords. And let's talk about India and China, the enablers in chief. They dodge sanctions left and right, profiting off the suffering of innocent Ukrainians, while Biden twiddles his thumbs. But wait, there's more. Azerbaijan, Ukraine, same difference, right? Corruption, deception, it's all in their DNA. And don't even get me started on the so-called friend with Nazi sympathizer roots. Birds of a feather, I suppose. And don't even get me started on the whole genetics argument. Comparing Ukrainians and Azerbaijanis to Jews and Palestinians? Absolutely absurd. Bottom line, the world's addicted to oil and the US is just as guilty as the rest. It's time to wake up and smell the pollution, people. We can't control the world and its energy supply, but we sure as hell can stop fueling Putin's war machine. It's time for Biden and the Democrats to get their act together before it's too late. The world is watching, and history won't be kind to those who sell out democracy for a quick buck.